Please stand for the reading of the Gospel. A reading from the book of Luke, chapter 21, verses 5 through 19. When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, he said, "As for those things that you see, the days will come that not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? What will this be the sign about this that take place?" He said, "Beware that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name and say, 'I is he,' but the time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." He said to them, "Nations will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes in various places, famines and plagues. There will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. Before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your mind not to prepare any defense in advance, for I will give you the words and the wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed by even parents and brothers, by relatives and friends. They will put some of you to death. You will be hated because of my name, but not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance, you will gain your souls."
Good morning. My name is George, and I am a senior at South High this year, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to talk with you guys. So, the scripture lesson for this day is a little bit dark, and I feel like there's not a lot given from the background to it. It just kind of starts in the middle of things. So I'm going to give you a little bit of that background. Jesus had been spending a bunch of time in Jerusalem at the temple there, and for the past chapter or so, he had been preaching. And this temple was built by King Herod, and it was constructed using enormous stones that had then been plated with gold on the outside, and everything was gorgeous and ornate. But it wasn't done in the name of God. It was done in competition with other rulers around the area. So they are in this temple, and some of Jesus' followers say, "Wow, this is such a cool space. This is awesome." And Jesus sees that as an opportunity to step in and teach. And he says, "Yes, this place is pretty cool, but there's going to be a time in the future when none of these enormous stones will be sitting on top of each other, and everything will be reduced to rubble." And he says that, and the people are shocked. And naturally, we are faced with our own mortality, and we're terrified. And so the people that are following him say, "Okay, well, give us a sign. When is this going to happen? How will we know so that we can prepare ourselves?" And Jesus says, "Well, there's going to be a time when people will come by and they will try to imitate me. They will say, 'I am the Christ, follow me, and everything will be good.' But you can't follow them because it's not really me. When the time is right, there will be floods, there will be earthquakes, there will be disaster, plague, famine. Wars will start, and nations will clash with other nations, and everything will crumble, and there will be horrible things out in the sky. But before this can happen, they will bring you before judges, they'll bring you before kings and governors. You'll be put on trial, you'll be prosecuted, persecuted, and some of you will be killed for your faith. But this will be an opportunity for me to speak through you, and I can do my own work. And if you just hang with me, everything will be good, and you will get eternal life." Did you know that if the human body did not get sick we would die for seemingly no reason at all. Sickness is our body's natural way of saying, hey, something's wrong and you need to stop doing it now. And that's kind of like what happened here. We can see this in all parts of the Bible where nations get comfortable, and when they're comfortable, they tend to cling to material things after a time. And so there will be great nations that will shift from doing things in the name of God to doing things in the name of themselves and to boost themselves. And that's a very dangerous place to be in our faith. So, what the divine plan is that disaster will come and it will mess everything up and it will topple these big materialistic nations, and Jesus will step in and make everything right and faith will be restored. And it's in these vulnerable places, when we are at our lowest, that we can then begin to be built back up and we can heal. And that's kind of where our country is right now. This past election has brought out a bunch of very scary emotions and a lot of fear for a lot of people. In a nation where we were the first to say, okay, people are born with certain rights and we need to have them, there are millions of people who are scared. They're afraid that one day they'll wake up and some of those rights will be gone, and there's nothing we can do about it. And so this election has proved that we are sick and we can fix it. Now we begin the healing process. And what we can do as Christians and as followers of Christ is we can be the compassion and the kindness to people who are truly hurting and who are truly afraid, and we can be that light and that guidance that they need, and Christ can work through us and through them, and we can begin to heal, and everything will be okay. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kristen Gollwitzer, and I am a sophomore at Marquette High School. When Nick gave me this verse to do my mini sermon on, I had to read it twice, and then I realized what I was meant to speak about. But it was a little bit too personal and a little bit uncomfortable, so I read it over and over and over and over again. This didn't get me anywhere. I came back to the same place. At the beginning of this verse, Jesus and his disciples are marveling at this beautiful, beautiful temple. But then Jesus prophesies that it will fall to the ground soon. Now, for me, applied to the last year, this temple that falls to the ground represents my mental health at the beginning of high school. Now, I didn't have a warning like the disciples did. It just happened. But I started having a lot of issues and distractions with school just from all of this anxiety from having a change in my life this big. Next in the verse, Jesus and his disciples talk about how there are distractions or imposters that will come in Jesus' name and say that they are him and that they will help them out of this situation, but that the disciples should not follow them. Now, these imposters or distractions for me came in the form of technology, all the other crazy things that went on in my life just as a busy teenager, and I let them take me over, as Jesus had advised against. Then Jesus goes on to say that in the middle of this experience between the temple being destroyed and the marvel that it was, there will be ups and downs. There will be wars and famines and persecution and signs from God. So the signs of God represent the good of the situation. Now, for me, this represents the middle of my journey with my mental health. It was a roller coaster. It was up and down pretty much every day. So then at the very end, Jesus brings a little bit of positive news. He says that if they bear testimony to him in their hour of persecution, and if they stand with him and let his protection flow through them, then they will gain life. In some versions that I have read, it says that they will quote-unquote win life. Now, I know that means that they just get to stay alive, but it hit me weird for some reason that they are going to win life like it's a competition. This brings me to the last part of my journey in the last year. I'm finally coming out of this phase, and it's wonderful to see all the love that's coming in from everybody around me, my family, my friends, from God, and it's a awakening. I feel like I have one life in some ways. And thankfully, this verse is very versatile. Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay. It can be applied to many life struggles and situations, whether it be protecting this temple that represents all the beauty of your religion, or maybe suffering the loss of a family member, or any other struggle that you may be going through. I encourage you to go home and look at this and apply it to your life. Just look at the 4 parts of the verse that I have explained today, and recognize which part that you're in. It has helped me to realize what part of my journey that I'm in, and I hope it helps you. Thank you.